Imagine for a moment that the most dangerous thing in the world is not a lie, not violence, not even injustice. The most dangerous thing is silence, the silence that comes when we stop asking questions. Because when we stop asking, we stop seeing. And when we stop seeing, we stop growing. That silence doesn't just shrink the world, it shrinks us. Curiosity is not just a nice-to-have trait. It is the foundation of truth. Every great truth that's ever been uncovered, whether in science, justice, or our personal lives, began with one restless voice saying, "But why? But how? But what if?" The day we stop asking those questions is the day we let someone else's version of reality define our own. Integrity is tested when the questions we ask make people uncomfortable. When they challenge power, when they rattle the systems that are designed to keep us obedient, quiet, and agreeable. But real courage doesn't live in comfort. It lives in the willingness to ask even when it costs you. Your approval, your ease. Sometimes even your place in the room. Integrity is not measured by how loudly we echo the crowd, but by how bravely we question the silence. And here is the truth we often forget: questions are the bridge between ignorance and wisdom. Every discovery that ever shifted the course of human history, electricity, vaccines, civil rights, was born out of someone refusing to accept what was handed to them. They refused to let their curiosity be killed. The question they asked may have sounded naive, impossible, even foolish at first, but it became the path to transformation. What questions are you leaving unasked in your own life because you fear the answer? Curiosity is more than seeking knowledge. It is about finding your authentic voice. When you ask, when you probe, when you refuse to silence the part of you that hungers for clarity, you reclaim your power. To be curious is to stand tall in your humanity and say, "I will not pretend. I will not look away. I will not surrender my voice for comfort." That is not weakness. That is integrity. That is strength. So never kill your curiosity. Because the questions you dare to ask, especially the ones no one else will, are the ones that will not only reveal the truth, but also reveal who you are. Curiosity is the very foundation of truth because it refuses to accept appearances at face value. It pushes past the surface of what is convenient and digs into what is real. Every time you ask a question, you are opening a door to clarity, and every time you stop, that door closes, often for good. History shows us this pattern over and over again. Progress did not come because someone blindly accepted what was told to them. Progress came because someone dared to press further. They refused to be satisfied with half answers, with polite dismissals, with the comfort of conformity. They were willing to be the one voice in the room that unsettled everyone else, because they needed to know what was hiding behind the curtain of silence. That is what curiosity does. It exposes what is concealed. When curiosity dies, truth doesn't disappear, but it becomes buried beneath layers of assumptions, distractions, and propaganda. Without curiosity, we lose the instinct to challenge what feels wrong but looks acceptable. Without curiosity, we train ourselves to look away rather than look deeper. And once that instinct is lost, we become easy to persuade, easy to mislead, easy to control. Curiosity is the shield against manipulation, because it is the habit of not settling until the truth has been uncovered. In our personal lives, this same principle applies. The moment you stop being curious about yourself, your relationships, your choices, you stop growing. You stagnate in patterns that might feel familiar, but keep you small. Curiosity is what keeps you alive to possibilities. It is what prevents you from shrinking into a version of yourself that fits other people's comfort zones. Curiosity is not a luxury. It is the foundation on which every truth and every transformation is built. Integrity means having the courage to ask questions, even when those questions threaten to disrupt the very spaces you want to belong to. It is easy to repeat what is already accepted, to echo the safe lines, and to protect yourself with silence when you sense that a question might put you on the outside. But real integrity does not live in the echoes. It lives in the tension of asking what no one else will. It lives in the moments when your voice trembles but you speak anyway, because silence would betray something deeper within you. To ask the hard question is to risk rejection, misunderstanding, or even hostility, but it is also to honor your conscience and protect your soul from compromise. Every system of power, whether in society, business, or relationships, depends on silence to survive. It depends on people keeping their heads down and accepting what they are told, even when they know something feels off. When you choose integrity, you break that cycle. You take the risk of standing apart, and in doing so, you refuse to sell your honesty for acceptance. The cost may be high discomfort, disapproval, sometimes even exclusion, but the greater cost is paid by those who betray themselves by swallowing questions that burn inside them. Asking with integrity is not about attacking others or creating chaos for its own sake. It is about being loyal to truth above comfort. It is about understanding that your responsibility is not to protect appearances, but to uncover reality. When you ask the questions that others avoid, you shine a light in places where shadows have grown too thick. That light might make others uncomfortable, but it is the only way forward if you want to live with the kind of strength that comes from knowing you never traded your voice for acceptance. Questions are the bridge between ignorance and wisdom because they are the only way to move from what you think you know to what is actually true. Every breakthrough in human history began not with certainty but with doubt, with someone bold enough to ask, what if there's another way? The electric light did not appear because someone accepted darkness as the natural order of things. Civil rights were not advanced because people were content with injustice. Cures and technologies did not emerge from silence, but from voices that challenged assumptions and insisted on knowing more. Questions are the tools that stretch the boundaries of human understanding and drag us out of ignorance into clarity. When we avoid asking, we trap ourselves in the comfort of the known, even if the known is harmful. Ignorance is often easier to live with because it asks nothing of us. It keeps us safe inside routines and beliefs that do not disturb our world. But wisdom cannot be reached by remaining in that safety. Wisdom demands disruption. It asks us to lean into the unknown, to risk being wrong, to face truths that might unravel what we have always believed. That is the price of transformation, and the payment is made through questions. On a personal level, this bridge is just as vital. When you ask questions about your habits, your beliefs, your relationships, you create space for growth. You invite the possibility that there is more for you than what you have settled for. Every time you question, you challenge the illusion that the way things are is the way they must remain. Questions may not always give immediate answers, but they pull you out of complacency and guide you toward deeper understanding. They are the stepping stones from limitation to possibility, from blindness to vision. Authenticity lives in the courage to speak what others silence, and curiosity is the force that fuels that courage. To be authentic is not simply to share what is easy or agreeable. It is to risk being misunderstood, judged, or even rejected because you refuse to bury what feels true within you. The questions you carry are not accidents. They are signals pointing you toward the places where truth has been hidden or ignored. When you silence those questions to make others comfortable, you are not just protecting them, you are betraying yourself. Authenticity demands that you honor the discomfort, that you give voice to what others may think but are too afraid to say. When you dare to speak from your curiosity, you shift the atmosphere around you, in every environment, whether a workplace, a family, or a community. There is a quiet pressure to maintain peace by avoiding the uncomfortable. But peace built on silence is fragile and false. Authenticity disrupts that illusion, not to create division, but to bring honesty into the room. It says, I will not pretend. I will not trade my integrity for acceptance. I will not carry the weight of silence that is crushing the possibility of real connection and real progress. The strength to be authentic does not come from certainty, but from the willingness to be vulnerable. It comes from realizing that your voice matters not because it will please everyone, but because it carries truth that would otherwise remain buried. Curiosity pushes you to uncover that truth. Authenticity compels you to speak it. Together they form the foundation of a life that is not shaped by fear, but by integrity. To live authentically is to understand that your greatest responsibility is not to keep the world comfortable, but to keep yourself honest. Never kill your curiosity, because it is the compass that leads you to truth, the fuel that drives your growth, and the fire that keeps your voice alive. The world will tempt you with silence. It will reward your obedience, applaud your agreement, and try to convince you that comfort is safer than courage. But safety built on silence is the slow death of your own integrity. Every time you dare to ask, you reclaim your power. Every time you refuse to accept half-truths, you open the door to transformation. And every time you let your authentic questions rise, you give others permission to do the same. So let your curiosity be relentless. Let it be the force that cuts through noise and reveals what matters. Ask boldly. Ask fearlessly. Ask with the conviction that truth is worth more than approval. Because in the end, the measure of your life will not be how well you fit into the silence, but how bravely you used your voice to break it.